Marvel is full of characters that over the past 10 years we've seen grow quite a bit on the big screen. And of course the comics are fast paced as well. These characters are of course a common household name by now. It would be hard to find somebody who's never heard of Iron Man, you know what I'm saying? But of course some characters just aren't memorable enough. Either it's the lack of comic book issues or movies and shows haven't quite gotten around to them yet. Or maybe they're just too weird. That's always an option too. If you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button, and without further ado, I'm Taylor McWatters, and here are the top 10 Marvel characters you've never heard of, part 2. Coming in at number 10, Prowler. Hobie Brown. Now, when I mention the Prowler, of course the first thing that comes to your mind is Aaron Davis, the uncle of Miles Morales, who played one of the villains in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen it, it literally won an Oscar. It's amazing. Go watch it right now after this video. That is one of the best movies, period, not just animated movies, but best movies ever. Yeah, that's it. But I'm talking about Hobie Brown's Prowler. A little bit different. He made his comic book debut back in Amazing Spider-Man 78 in 1969. I like the OG Prowler more. He was a villain and then kind of like a hero, and he has an honest character arc, you know? Like, he was this guy who cleaned windows for a living. In the middle of a shift, this guy gets caught in the middle of a fight with Daredevil and Stiltman. So after that incident, he was inspired to make his own suit and secret identity to go along with it. So he made himself wrist and ankle bracelets to hold cleaning fluid and gave himself boots and claws to help climb. Not a bad idea at all. Kind of feels like you just want to be a villain. I don't know. That's a really weird way of doing it. Get a camelback, put it in there, then spray the stuff. I don't know, just an idea. So after he lost his job, however, it became clear what his next step had to be. Now I say had to because this was an honest guy who didn't want to hurt anybody. He didn't want to be a villain. He just needed to get by. Spider-Man gave him warnings too, like he didn't really crack down on him too hard. He knew that Hobie Brown wasn't a bad guy, and that's what I love about him. We have Aaron Davis in the MCU, played by Childish Gambino, and he's an arms dealer, so I'm hoping, as you guys are probably as well, that he makes a similar character arc becoming the Prowler, whilst also introducing Miles Morales in that MCU. And I feel like we're honestly days away from finding out who's playing Miles in the MCU, because they're filming, I think right now, the new Spider-Man. So comment down below who you think is going to be casted, and then once it's out, we can come back and check the comments and see who's right and who's wrong. And we'll shout out only the wrong people. We'll shame you. Shame. He also looks a lot like Spawn. I don't know, just saying. Number 9, the Orb. This guy is quite fun, and believe it or not, he's been clearly referenced in the MCU. You just gotta keep an eye out for it. Puns, here we go. There's so many puns in this thing, by the way, it's gonna get nuts. These puns are wild. Yeah, he's got an eyeball for a head, and no, I'm not joking. Making his first appearance in Ghost Rider Volume 6, Issue 26, the Orb is, well, yeah, look at him. He was born with a head that was a giant eye, and if that's not already the coolest thing ever, I don't really know what is. His parents abandoned him at a young age because, well, of course they did. I mean, it would be quite the scene during childbirth. Oh, it's crowning. Yep, I think I see the head. Nope, it sees me. That's definitely a big eyeball. We gotta go. So naturally, he was made fun of. He couldn't speak either. I mean, he just made squishy noises. His massive eyeball head had powers. I mean, I hope, or else this guy's life is just a horror film. He can blast people with this red energy beam that shoots out of his eye thing. And he can even tell when somebody's thinking about him, which would probably be a lot of the time, considering that's what he looks like. So yeah, he was for sure referenced in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Right at the start of the movie when Scott is playing with Cassie, she has to use this retinal scanner thing. It's like in the cardboard fort. And she puts on this paper plate mask that looks like a big eye. And if that's not a reference to the Orb, it's a reference to Mike Wachowski. So one or the other, I got it. Number 8, Jack-O-Lantern. 'Tis the season, so it's only fair to include Jack-O-Lantern. Making his debut in Captain America issue 396, he's a sick villain. Jason Macendale, who started off as a mercenary but was deemed too violent, so naturally after his departure he donned a new look and gave himself a fancy new evil nickname to go along with it, Jack-O-Lantern. I love his look, it's very Headless Horseman type, I like it. He was referred to as Mad Jack in Spectacular Spider-Man in the 90s, and he actually was Mysterio. This whole time? No, just in that iteration. So from 1996 and onwards, starting with Spectacular Spider-Man 241, that's when Norman Osborn comes up to Daniel Beckert and pitches his new alter ego, Mad Jack. He shows him the new pumpkin head, very nice touch, elegant, nice and terrifying too. The fancy glider, the pumpkin bombs, the blasters. I can see a live action Jack-O-Lantern happening, for real. I mean, we're pretty much there with all the gliders and the gear. Once you throw on a jack-o'-lantern into the picture, that's it. It's pretty much done. We have Hobgoblin, we have all those gliders. I think it's time for jack-o'-lantern. Hashtag Mad Jack. Number 7, Jim Jaspers. He made his debut in Daredevil's number 7 in 1983. This dude's pretty wild. He started off as a British politician who served as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and then he was a leader of the Conservative Party, okay? So he was known for his anti-superhero stance. I mean, of course, your name is Jim Jaspers. You already sound like an annoying character, brother. Jim Jaspers. Jim Jaspers over here, sir. He didn't like soups because he wanted to keep Britain safe. Fair, I mean, you got a point. So of course, many people agreed with him and he won the general election. Bam, done done. But Jim Jaspers had some little Jim Jaspers tricks up his sleeves. He actually was a mutant with reality warping powers. Oh, these type of guys scare me. Like one bad day and then it's over. Like, they're crazy. I don't like those guys. So he's representing Haslop West and even gets knighted by Queen Elizabeth. So he creates this strike team whose job it is to gather up all the superheroes. And the slogan and all the posters says, "In your hearts, you know he's right. In our hearts, way to go after our souls." The best part of the capabilities of Jim Jaspers takes place in the Marvel UK storyline, Crooked World. So if you want to see the reality warping Jim Jaspers is capable of in full force, you gotta check that out yourselves. Also, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Jim Jaspers will be introduced in WandaVision and will be a secret villain working quietly. I'm calling it now. Check the date, that's it. Number 6, Hyperion. The Superman of the Marvel Universe, basically. I mean, making his first appearance in Avengers issue 69 back in 1969. Nice. That's right, so when the Grandmaster traveled to Earth 712, he challenged Scarlet Supreme to a contest. So each fighter gets to kind of pick their own team. So the Grandmaster won using the Squadron Supreme. So he changed 3 people over to become Nighthawk, Dr. Spectrum, and the Wizard. Now of course, he still needed that Hyperion spot, so he created him out of extra dimensional matter. Spirit fingers. Even throwing in the artificial memories to go along with it. He was made to think he was Zibron, this space explorer from Yttrium, a planet from one of the microverses. Named after the Titan of Greek mythology, Hyperion actually went toe-to-toe with Thor. But, you know, with Thor being Thor and all, Hyperion ended up losing. The hammer was too much to handle. Another pun. Kind of. That was, we're pushing. Hyperion was shrunk, depowered, and imprisoned by Thor into this tiny glass globe. Don't worry though, Nebulon got him out. He's good. Number 5, Lyra. We go now to Earth 8009, beginning with Hulk Raging Thunder issue 1. We find Lyra Walters, or more commonly referred to as Savage She-Hulk. So she's from Earth 8009 in the 23rd century, and then at that time the Earth was split into 2 different factions. The guys' factions were like warriors, you know, they just looked up to heroes like Wolverine, just manly men, I guess, being men. And the women came together under the United Sisterhood Republic, and they were outgunned and outmanned. Literally. So Thundra got sent to Earth 616 where she met that Earth's Hulk and then had a baby. And then Lyra actually gets stronger when she's calm, which is of course not common when it comes to our green giants. That'd be amazing to see though. It just cuts to like Lyra reading a book and everyone's like, man, she's wild right now. Look at how strong she is. She's like, just jacked while she's reading 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Green! This is great, this is awesome. She's also able to tap into gamma sight, which means she basically can see the flow of gamma radiation. She's one with the gamma. Like all over the world too, not like within her personal range. She taps into all of it. So she becomes more skilled in this state because she sees everything and knows the next move. If she becomes angry, however, she will actually become weaker. So it's a fun little game of opposites. But at her weakest, she's still as strong as Spider-Man, so doesn't quite say a lot when you say the word weakness. Number 4, Songbird. Also known as Melissa Gold, Songbird made her comic debut in 1997 in the Incredible Hulk issue 449. She ran away from her parents at a young age, of course, and whilst developing a hard knock life attitude, she ended up becoming a professional wrestler, just like the Spider-Gwen version of She-Hulk, funny enough. That would be a fun crossover, I don't know. She gave herself the stage name Screaming Mimi and joined the wrestling crew, the Grapplers. Now, in Marvel's television run, they could for sure bring this character in, it can happen, and it would be a blast. So the Grapplers were straight killing it, but they weren't making the same amount of money as the male wrestlers. That rings a familiar bell, huh? Doesn't it? So they took on a new job with the Roxxon Oil Company. Now of course the mission failed because Quasar came in and had to save the day. Melissa was given vocal cord implants that provided her with acoustic kinetics, hence the name Screaming Mimi. You figured it out. She can make all these crazy weapons with just her voice, and even has the ability to craft herself wings and fly. Whenever I scream, my voice just cracks. Like, a lot. Number 3, Swarm. Okay, this next guy is an absolute unit. Fritz von Meyer made his debut in Champions issue 14 back in 1977. And as you can probably guess by his name, he's made of 1,000 bees. And as you can probably guess by his actual name, he's also a Nazi scientist. He used looted gold to pay for all of his projects. He's this Nazi beekeeper. I mean, what a character. One day he found a beehive that was quite different, to say the least. So Fritz made a device that would help reawaken these mysterious bees, which he thought were the end result of a mutation with a nearby fallen meteorite. So these bees ended up attacking and killing Fritz. Not the Nazi beekeeper Fritz! As you would think, his consciousness was spread out through all of these bees, and now you have this monstrosity bee guy. Just a man made of bees. I don't care what criminal you are, if you see a guy made out of bees, I'm tapping out, that's it. Like, there's no fight. If I was robbing a bank and I heard like behind me, there's no chance any amount of money is worth that pain. Puns are killing it. Number 2, Leapfrog. Yep, you heard me. Okay, picture this. What if when Cap said Avengers Assemble and Avengers Endgame, and it just panned through all those characters, there was just like a frog just chilling there, like a frog guy, just standing like, yeah, let's mess him up. All wet and frog-like. Vincent Patilio, of course, was an inventor. I mean, who else gets to this point in their life? Must be a wacky inventor. Making his first comic book debut in Daredevil issue 25 in 1967, he was a loser. In his own words, he said this, not me. He invented things, but nothing was sticking. Again with the puns, oh my god, this guy's wild. So until one day, he created these powerful leaping coils. And after that, he decided to, well, do crimes, because of course. And in one of his first villainous outings, he went to an airport and started leaping around and prevented planes from taking off. That's the worst villain move right there. Delaying my trip to Fiji? No sir, Leapy Man. This guy would be a great villain for a TV show. I feel like Falcon and the Winter Soldier could bring him in for like one episode. They have Batroc the Leaper coming back, so let's just do like a team of leapers. The entire episode is just Sebastian Stan looking around like. And lastly, coming in at number 1, Gamecock. Yep, I said that. Carlos Cabrera made his comic book debut in Captain America issue 183. He was a small villain who crossed paths with Steve Rogers a couple of times. And as far as powers go, he has none. But he dresses like this, so one would only assume he's the coolest, strongest, baddest dude in the game. He is, however, a great fighter. And I see how the inspiration came about. Cockfighting, the sharp claws, he's a great fighter. He also sports the claws on his feet and his hands. And if you think this guy wasn't already insane enough, he has a crew that he rolls with who also dresses up like chickens. I feel like they could use this character in an Easter egg easily. I mean, just having any sporting event with a chicken mascot and his name could be Carlos. Boom, then all of us would be like, that's the chicken thug, I know that guy. Maybe he could even call his gang the Chicken Nuggets. And whenever he wants to leave, he like snaps his fingers and he goes, let's dip. And the other chicken dudes are like, yeah, let's go rob somebody. I could use an extra buck. Yeah, that's like 7 puns. I'll leave now, that's fair, that's fair. Well, there you have it guys. Which one of your favorite lesser known characters did we miss? Comment down below so I can check them out and maybe we'll get a fun little part 3, I don't know. And as always, if you haven't already, make sure your notifications are turned on. That way when we do our live video premieres, we can all hop in together. Last little frog pun before we go. I'm Taylor McWatters, thanks for watching. See ya!